This is our 20th lunch series, and we have a couple folks here who are here for the first time. If you're here for the first time, please raise your hand. Thanks so much. So we love to see the mix. I love seeing people who continue to return. Who's been here for at least 5 of these? Awesome. So it's just great to see the nice mix of that. We think this really has become a must-attend event. And I really do believe that the crowd is a who's who crowd. And I won't begin naming some of the folks that are here, but there are a lot of CEOs here, a lot of executives here, and so it's just wonderful to have you here. I do call this the most productive lunch hour in New York's capital region. So, despite this being our 20th anniversary, we have a couple of firsts. So one of the firsts is that it's our first time we've ever had a meal sponsor. And this is no reflection of Phillips Lytle, the shortage of food. It's because of the popularity of this event. So I just want to thank Phillips Lytle. They're awesome. I mentioned to Rich Honing, who is I want to get his title proper here. Baylor, make sure I did this right. Rich is the Venture Capital and Technology Practice Team Leader and partner in charge of Philip Lytle's Albany office. And when I mentioned we were thinking about having a meal sponsor, he immediately jumped at the chance. Rich let me know yesterday that he could not make it. He was very disappointed, but not in his stead, because they were their own people. But Jeff Schwartz, a partner, and Brandon Ray are both here, I think. Are you guys both here? So where's Jeff? In the back row. The associate gets the second row, and Jeff is in the back row. So thank you very much for your support and for the meal sponsorship. And again, the meal is on its way for those who couldn't make it. I also want to thank Richard Lynn of Agora Technologies, who's again videotaping today. I think he's live streaming it on Facebook. So thank you very much, Richard, for doing that. And what else do I have here? If you're tweeting, please use the BizLab Clarkson hashtag. And now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome my partner in crime, Bela Musitz, who's a professor at Clarkson and one of the greatest business minds of the capital region.
So in addition to streaming this live, we're actually recording it, and it will show up probably in a month or so on my podcast, which is The Unconventional Path. So this is a perfect one for that. So, Rick and I, people said we were kind of crazy when we started this 20 episodes ago. And we continue our craziness because Rick had another great idea. He said, why don't we do an interview, and why don't we interview our bosses? Yeah, so this month we're interviewing Rick's boss, and next month we're interviewing Tony Collins, who's the president of Clarkson University, who's my boss's boss's boss. So we're going to play good cop and bad cop. We're not quite sure what the roles will be at each particular event, but we'll let that unfold as it does. So the next 2 months, this month and next month ought to be great. Hope you can attend next month on April 18th as well. A couple of quick things I got to take care of. Emergency exits, there's some behind you. There's some in this direction behind me. The bathrooms are to your right by that exit sign. And this is a place of business. Saratoga National Bank has an office here, so we may hear some noises and stuff in the background. But that's a good thing. And I think that covers it. So let me introduce Rick back to the seat, and then Tony Civitella, who's going to be our guest for today. So just to be clear, Tony, I'm going to be the good cop on this session.
Great. Thanks.
I'm claiming that spot, Rick, so...
Is there going to be a lot of screaming, though? Usually, like, I see these in the movies that there's, like, someone screaming, yelling.
Where's the light? We need a light.
Yeah. I feel like there is a spotlight.
All right. So I get the honor of the first question.
Great.
So you're the president and CEO of Transfinder, and there may be some people in the audience who don't know what Transfinder is, what you guys do. So could you just kind of set the stage for us, what the business is, what it does?
That's great. Well, thank you for coming today. It seemed like there's not too many empty seats, so I'm excited. So thank you for coming here today. Transfinder, has the word finder in it. So we create a lot of products that has to do with finding, it's mapping. But the word trans is about transportation. That's why it's called Transfinder. And we started really in the school bus industry. Our clients are made up of about 25 million students a day. So if you add up all of our client students, that's about 25 million students that attend these schools. About 5 million of them actually ride school buses that their routes been designed and managed by our software. So it gets so excited. I'm thinking now it's 30 years we're celebrating. I'm thinking in 30 years, think about how many students, 5 million every year. Well, maybe not year number one, but significant amount of millions of students in the United States have actually ridden these school buses that our software has been managing. Who knows? It could be some very important person. It could be a movie star that just won the Best Actor award. Well, I know not that guy because he rocked it out, but just excited.
Awesome.
You know?
So, first question from me. I think it's a nice question. Tony's mother, by the way, is in the audience, and so is his uncle who just flew in from Italy yesterday.
Last night.
Last night. So tell me just a little bit about, for those of you who don't know, Tony moved here when he was 9 years old from Italy. So I just was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about just, who maybe had the greatest influence in your life, your mother or your father. Your mother's here, so you might want to say that. But like some lessons that you've learned, and just overcoming some of those challenges that maybe some typical 9-year-olds don't struggle with born here.
I mean, obviously you only told me you only have an hour to talk, so that could be days, I really think. But I'm very excited. My mom is here. My uncle, Zio Franchino, is here. So I just want to say grazie, benvenite. Thank you for coming. I have a pretty big birthday this Sunday, and so he's coming for my birthday. So I can't say I'm 29 anymore. But 9 years old, you really don't know what's going on. But it's education, and my parents moved here for a better opportunity, and it happened to work out pretty good for me. It really did. But it was education, and at 9 years old, I was held back. I repeated the same grade that I attended in Italy, and it really shocked me. It's like, welcome to the United States. You're not that smart. We're going to just make you repeat whatever grade you did in Italy. Like, wow, so that hurts, right? That's your welcome mat to the country. And those are tough, but I've learned to just get over it. I happen to excel in math, which is exciting. And my teacher saw something special in me, and my first day of 4th grade, she came in and said, this kid needs to jump to another grade. And so I jumped a grade, which is great. Think about my confidence. But meanwhile, 9 years old, my mom and dad really didn't speak in English at all. I'm really, my sister and I are translating for them. And I'm talking about translating not just, good morning, I want to buy a bushel of apples, but hey, this is the unemployment form. Can you fill this out for me? Those are the kind of stuff that...
About negotiating with your dad, because you had to translate...
Oh, my father was great. My father was a great negotiator, so he negotiated everything. And I remember just going I'm not going to mention car dealers, but remember, I'm 13 years old, and he can't really speak English, but he wants to buy a car. And so you can't buy a car if you can't speak English. First of all, you're going to get beat up. You're going to get torched. So he would say, here, tell this man this much. And I'll go, you want me to tell him this much? Like, hey, you're just here to translate. You're not here to negotiate. And it was like almost an insulting level. But he was like, Dad, he's not going to be okay with this. Listen, if you can't do it, we're out of here. And I was like, all right. So I would look at this man like, well, my father wants to offer you this. And I go, well, why is this 13-year-old kid even talking to me? We're talking about thousands of dollars. Who the hell is this guy? And so many times my father would get so upset and go, let's go. Just like that, let's go. He did say that in English, let's go. Or he would say a couple words, and we're like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I feel embarrassed. This man is downplaying us and just making us feel so horrible. All right, come back. It's like, it worked almost all the time. So I tell everybody, and I'm not saying you should go to Macy's. You should go to Macy's, and you should say, I love the soup. Is there anything you could take off the soup? And they're not going to just say, hey, give me $100 on cash. No, I don't recommend it. But guess what? In that drawer, They have VIP tickets. They have, you could get 50% off a $700 suit if you treat them nice. 50% off. Guess what? If you don't ask, you'll never get it, ever, ever. So, I mean, there's a lot of lesson learned, but my father was more.
Macy's could be a sponsor now.
No, I think, and I'm not saying Macy's, and I'm not saying go to the Gullips saying, yeah, I'm not paying this much for the bananas. I think you're going to pay the X number of dollars per pound. But I think it's negotiating. It's, hey, if you really want it, if not, walk away. But don't negotiate just because it's a game. And then as soon as you say yes, I was kidding anyway, lousy, get out of there. But you really, if you want it, and if you don't, you got to, and by the way, the problem is my father always say you have to have cash in hand, because if that individual said, okay, well, you're losing that money. That's why he felt like give cash in hand, because here's $100. Like, I want $500. Here's $100. And now you're thinking, it's the bird in hand. Here's $100. You could just grab it, like, all right, take this. Because you could just negotiate and you'll, yeah, I don't want it anyway. Like, what? But this man is willing to leave his $100 out of his hand. And I think those are huge in negotiating, meaning you're serious. You're not just, I want to buy that car, but I'm going to pay $10,000 less than you want. That's nonsense. But he was serious.
So Tony,
Is that the back guy?
That's awesome. I love it.
so talk to us how that has sort of, you've taken that lesson as a 9 to 14-year-old or 15-year-old, and you've used that later on in building the business.
Well, I think what you learn is that you can't do that everywhere, right? You can't do that. It's something that you can't just pull that type of a negotiation everywhere. There's got to be some sort of respect. But you know that you start now reading people, and they see you. The way your body, the way you talk, the way you stand, makes you feel that you're confident, that you're serious. And just meeting several people, and just as I was learning the language, obviously I had to become someone that I'm liked. I want to make sure that someone liked me. So I had to, do things that people liked me.
Yeah, but now being a business owner, you're
Right.
on the other side of that table.
Sure.
You're not the one buying the car. You're the one selling the car.
That's true. But we also do buy things, and we have employees, and we have a lot of different things. We have vendors. We have clients. We have clients that, the grass is always greener over the septic tank, right? It's always greener there, and, at least the leach field. And, so many clients of ours would call up and saying, your competitor is doing a better job, and, we're about to leave you. And like, well, what do you do? What do you do? At this point, you become more sincere and go, wow, we made a mistake. Wow, what can we do to fix this? So no, I think this is where as you talk to these people, you start learning how to communicate. And communication is not just with words, it's how you see people, shaking the hands, and those eye contacts make a huge difference. You know why? It makes you look, you're more serious. You're not just here, you got up this morning just to be a big talker. I don't know.
So, thank you. That's good. Good.
Good.
All right. So, in the audience, say Tyler Rooney. Where's Tyler Rooney? Tyler Rooney was our first BizLab, and our only, so far, BizLab intern. And from Clarkson. Tony, you were an intern. And Tony, who here went to school at Siena? Can you raise your hand if you're a Siena alum? So, Tony was a Siena alum. So can you just tell, so you were an intern at Transfinder first. It wasn't called Transfinder at the time.
Right.
Can you just tell us a little bit about just how you went from becoming, because maybe Tyler one day wants to become a CEO. How do you go from being an intern to being the CEO of the company?
Well, that's something I wasn't thinking about doing. That's not my intention. When I was 19 years old, I was like, I didn't even know what CEO stood for. I really didn't know that. And it took me a while, like, oh, that's what that means? What's so chief about it? And, and so really it was an opportunity, and I just really wanted to be successful. I'm a driven individual, and I was given an opportunity to solve problems, and I see myself as a problem solver. I love watching YouTubes. I could fix carburetors, and I'm great with YouTube. A lot of times I forget if you drop things in there, it's going to be a hard time to get it back out. But I'm a problem solver, and I was given an opportunity to solve some problems, and I did it. But also I watch other people. I see other software engineers in the early 90s getting really these huge deals, massive deals. And And I couldn't ask for that because the money wasn't there. So I'm like, well, maybe I could get a deal, which means piece of the company. So I asked for shares of the company, you know, because all the hard work I'm putting. I mean, I felt like I was working night and day. And, but you can't give, I'm not asking for cash, but maybe I'm asking for some piece of the company. And Jim Forth came back to me. He was like, oh, I got a way for you to have a piece of the company. You're going to buy share at a time, and you get a piece of the company. And I'm going to let you buy 25% of the company. And at this point, I don't even have barely any money on my mom and dad. I really, first of all, software. It's an abstract. Imagine me, and I could now show her things on my iPhone, and she's got an iPhone too. You can understand what software is, but 30 years ago, explain to somebody that can't speak English what software is. So I revert to, it's the disk. You don't see these disks? And by the way, it used to be floppy before. Like I do things, so she would tell her friends that he does something with these disks. Good enough. But the whole idea is that I was able to purchase shares and I got the 25%. I even convinced Jim to 35%. But back to my father and really my family, and I can't wait to talk to my uncle the next few weeks while he's here. He had these proverbs, and my father had these tons of proverbs, and there are a lot of them are farm-related proverbs. But he also would talk about just these things that really are riddles, and he would talk about in a business environment, a leadership. Really, that's how I'm converting it. In a leadership environment, it always has to be an odd number of people. Odd. Because you guys figure out why it needs to be an odd number? Anybody wants to guess? Tiebreaker. But he'd always say, so in business, always has to be odd number of people. And 3 is too many. Right? Right? 3 is too many, which means there's only one. And by the way, you could really...
Got it.
It's one. And by the way, it doesn't have to be in a leadership. It just means someone has to make the decision, which means can't say the committee. No, that individual makes the calls. And by the way, you guys can pick who's that leader is, and if that person doesn't work, get him out of there. But so he, that one guy, and I was able to convince the owner of the company to sell me the other 65%. And so I think this is all those riddles that I could
They're great riddles. I love this.
Yeah. And by the way, when Rick came on board at Transfinder now 5-6 years ago, and he would hear me talk about these things, like, where did you get this from? My dad used to say this, like, this is good stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know what it means this. And I go, wow, that's deeper meaning than I thought. I mean, I got rooster. I mean, I'm sure.
We might touch on some of those.
The horses. Awesome. I got so many great riddles, and they're very good proverbs that I use it at the office probably once a day.
That's true. I can vouch for that. I want to go to the audience. Do you mind? We do have a lot of questions, and there will be no shortage of questions, I'm sure. But anybody have any initial questions right off the bat for Tony? Don't be shy. Jeff Franco, you got a question for Tony?
I do have a question.
Go for it.
You get your hair like that.
How do you? Okay, Ken Glass. No, okay. How do you get your?
Same woman has been cutting my hair since maybe a good 30 years, and my wife hates it. Why can't you just go to a barber shop? Men do that. I don't like that.
Anyway, yeah.
Thank you.
Over here,
Thanks.
over here.
What's the formula for good espresso?
Okay, Ken Glass.
I'll answer that afterwards. He obviously has had some espresso in my place.
I'm only teasing.
So Tony, obviously every CEO is also a problem solver. What's the biggest problem that you think you're facing for your company over 2019? What's the big challenge that you've got to come up with?
Great.
Oh, that's a great question. This is RFP season for us, so a lot of the very large opportunities, they're purchasing based on RFPs, and we're responding to tons of RFPs. And by the way, some RFPs, they're looking at me like, well, Tony, what do you want to do? Should we go after it now? And I go, we can't go after this. Like, where are the people at? So we actually deny or not respond to an RFP that could give us millions of dollars every single year. We don't respond, not because I'm too weak and I'm not ready for the challenge. No, who's going to do it? I only have 24 hours a day. Even if it's just me, I still by myself. So the number one problem that's actually holding back, it's not just Transfinder. I would think every company in this area, where are the people at? Where are they? We talk a good game, we talk about that, but who's actually doing something to bring people here? And my son is 9 years old. I can't wait till the kid's gonna get 25. I don't have time. So that's really the problem. And I think a lot of smart people in this room, please figure out how to, when you see some stranger that's out of town, just kidnap him or something. We'll pay him
He's
good
kidding.
money.
He's kidding.
So,
Over here. Got a
Right.
question? Oh, I'm sorry. So,
yeah, let me can I have a quick follow-up to
please.
that? So, in our venture business, in my venture business, we see the same problem everywhere. So good people are really difficult to find, whether your business is located in New York City or Chicago or Schenectady. They're really hard to find. So how do we, as a business person, how do you solve that problem, right? Because other people are not going to bring people in. So when you think about recruiting, how do you think about recruiting? How do you sort of think about, hey, that's a person I want to come have join our business. How can I get them? How can I convince them to come here?
That's a great question. So we're trying everything. We're sponsoring the Albany Empire. Did you guys know that during those games last season, there was a $2,000 reward? A total stranger could say, I got my nephew or my next door neighbor and wants a job. Do you want to, here's a reference. And if we hire that person, that total stranger got a $2,000 check, and that employee that we just hired got a $5,000 bonus. Do you know we got nobody? Nobody? Can you imagine? You just give your neighbors as a reference. You got yourself $2,000. It was on our ads everywhere. We didn't get anybody. So we're trying so many different things. Hackathons, right? We did hackathons. We did hire somebody, but really we're thinking, wow, we did all this effort to hire one individual. But I think as a technology, I have an advantage. We can develop software anywhere in the world. And that's really it's driving me going to outside this area for software engineers. But that's really it. The sales, the service, the administration, it still has to be here. And we still need those people. So I think, I can't wait. I can't just keep saying no to some of these opportunities and get a half as good a company, get it, because they could do it. So obviously I started a company in Shanghai. It's all software engineers, and I had to. Now it's 50-50. We have about 50% people in Schenectady and 50% in Shanghai. We had to. What am I supposed to do?
let me go over here first, and then I'll get you.
Is Transfinder the pass that the kids carry around, like in school?
It's actually a lot of things. Typically, it's just really,
That's where it started.
it starts really in bus routes.
Right.
A school district like Niskuna, you couldn't imagine how many millions of miles they put in on a yearly basis. So can we shave them a couple of miles a day? And we actually have a formula. If we could save a school district 11 miles every day for 180 days, our software gets paid for itself. It's really that level. So it's just software, it's managing bus routes, but then of course it goes beyond that. Good question. There's a pass, but now parents want to know, where's the kid at? Did he get on the bus? Did you get off the bus? So we're now doing everything around the school bus.
So just thinking about what you're saying about being and I know there's efforts now in how we can code and whatnot.
Awesome.
I was wondering if you had any experience with hiring retraining programs like Albany.
Have you had any experience from hiring people from retraining programs like Albany Can Code?
That's a good question. We think that, so we're working on some very specific software. It's just logistic, it's mapping. So this is where it's even more rare. And so we're using a technology called ESRI, E-S-R-I, it's mapping. And so we do a lot of research. We found like 2 or 3 people that actually has that experience in this region. And by the way, majority of them are at our company. So this is really where it gets really tough. So we are willing to train them. We're willing to do anything it takes. But you also want to be able to say, hey, I'm taking on this challenge.
Over here,
Good
Lawrence.
question.
So how big was the company when you started?
So I started with me, the owner, and his secretary. And then when I ended up buying them two were not there, it was just 6 of us in 2000.
So it sounds like the growth of the business, you've had to go through many what some would call break points and transition points. And to be the leader still in that position, how were you able to change to be that person that you needed to be to lead the bigger business?
That's a good one. By the way, I saw a great concert. It was Elton John. I don't know if you guys saw this a couple weeks ago. And he talked about Still Standing. You guys know that song? And I tell you, it really hit me hard because he had a beautiful story before he sang that song about how a lot of his friends are not standing anymore. They didn't make it. And he is. And I keep thinking about it. What does it mean for me? All of my competitors, they've sold their company. All of them. They've sold it multiple times. They're not, my competitors that I knew 30 years ago, they're not there anymore. Their company may still be there, but they sold it multiple times. So why am I not doing that? Right? You know what I mean? Because we keep changing things. It's exciting. Maybe I'm still feel like I'm 29 years old, but we got to just keep changing. And I actually don't like the idea. And by the way, I remember the early days, those people think, are those mistakes? Because I can't tell you how many people actually slam the door as they're leaving Transfinder, really, and saying, I'm going to read it, you're going to be a college program how to kill a company. Like, you come in every couple months and you change everything. It's like, you don't even give time to see if it's working. You already want to change it. It's like, so I'm thinking, well, maybe I do that. Maybe I do change things up. But now look back, thank God I did make those changes, because if I didn't, I would have been a dinosaur. And I think this is where it takes some courage. And by the way, I lost some good employees because they disagreed with me. But it's making very tough decisions. We're not doing it. We're canceling. We're doing this. What? Why you want to change it? It's not personal, man. We're going to lose money. Do you want us to lay people off? So it gets tough.
That goes a little bit to the FIO.
Figure it out. That's right. Figure it out. And it's so hard to, now there's so many people at the company. There's people that are starting right now, I don't even know what's their name anymore. And that really does bother me, and I try my best. But they don't know that sometimes what keeps me up at night, it's every 2 weeks we have payroll. And guess what? That's what keeps me up at night. Do we have enough money to pay everybody? That's what's really keeps me up at night. So we got to make sure the decisions now have to be better and better, and at least don't leave a mark.
Joe Pasnelli, one of our tenants here, actually. Joe, you have a question?
Thank you, Joe.
I thought that was a great question as far as your greatest challenge, and you articulated that very well by stating it was your, looking for people to hire. You spoke a couple of weeks back at Siena College, and you've got Clarkson here. Have you actually spoken with the colleges and tried to get them to produce students and individuals? I know that the labor market is very tight, but what are these colleges getting another internship? What are they doing to help you, and why?
Awesome. Well, guess what? It's not their job, it's the company's job. So we've actually are going to quadruple our internship programs. We have so many interns now coming in, and their same seats are being rotated every single day because we know that the next awesome employee may be this intern. And by the way, I never got the phone call from any college saying, you really should start hiring some of my people. No, we figured things out. We've been knocking on doors saying, can we just keep about 2% of these kids stay in this area? It will change this area if we do this every year. But so no offense to any colleges or universities in this area, because I respect them, but it's not their job to figure out, are they going to get a job afterwards? They're all going to get a job. And the majority of these kids that are not from this area go back home. So I think if more companies do what we do, we would actually increase the number of kids staying here. So it's easy, and we do pay them, by the way. We do pay them. It shouldn't be free labor.
So just being a Clarkson guy, right, just to put it in context, the average Clarkson, math, science, technology grad has 5 job offers at graduation.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the market. So that's what we're competing against, because we compete, as a business here in Schenectady, we compete worldwide for those students, not just locally. We compete worldwide.
Just to give you like a little bit of perspective, in the last 2 weeks, Tony spoke at Siena to a group of business students, about a couple hundred students, got some resumes.
A lot of resumes.
A week before that, oh good,
Right.
I didn't hear that update.
Yeah.
And then a week before that, we had like 20 UAlbany students who spent literally 2.5 hours at Transfinder meeting all levels, and I think we got 15 resumes out of that. So it is about one-on-one FaceTime.
You're selling. You're selling your company to those students.
And that's what we have to do.
That's what you got. That's how you got to think about it. You got to think about, I'm selling an opportunity to these students.
And I think,
are they buying or
and
not?
I think this area, and I also spoke a couple of days ago at a chamber event, which was great people on a panel, but I think we can't keep talking about it. Go do something. And I felt that just meeting with the students in this, and just do something. You're gonna, remember, like you said, we're saying why these students are not leaving here. Is it the weather? It's not the weather. We have jobs here, but other regions do a significant better job to suck them out of here. So we're getting beat. You want to be competitive, you're getting beat. We're losing very good people to other places. And it's not because of the weather. There's other parts of the world that have terrible weather, and they're working there. So it's not that. We're just getting outbeaten. And I really want to hurt. I want it to feel that it hurts right here when I say we're getting beaten. That way you're going to go, well, nobody wants to lose. Because we're losing that battle. There's other parts of this country or other parts of the world that know how to do a better job attracting kids that go to Clarkson. Isn't that horrible? And we can't figure that out. They're beating us, and I think we blame everything else. It's the weather, it's the politics. No, we are getting beaten, period, end of story. Five opportunities. Think about that.
I saw, okay, in the back. Jeff Franco, you got a real question this time? All right.
What's your vision for success over the next 3 to 5 years?
Wow. 5 years.
Try
3 years. I think the vision of success at Transfinder specifically is to keep innovate. And I have a really big theory about how we innovate software. We listen to our clients. We're trying to get a lot of our clients' feedback, and they give us, great feedbacks. Our service team tells us, if you do this, if we fix this bottle, it won't leak and we won't get as many calls. All right, good idea. Salespeople, man, if you just put this feature, like put a nice label, I'll sell you so many more of these things. And so, right, salespeople give you awesome feedback because they want to sell. And then, of course, there's another one that no one asked about. This bottle to have the ridges, that way it compresses. Nobody asked that. So of course, we're gonna do that. And of course, you're gonna get everyone mad. Salespeople are gonna go, but you didn't put the label. And service are gonna go, you didn't fix the leak. So I think you gotta do all three. Innovate some stuff, definitely do some clients' needs and assessment, and listen to your sales folks. So continue that, and I think that is part of the success. I mean, that you should never change. You should never change that. You listen to your customers, right? I mean, is that...
Yeah.
So one quick question I want to make sure that people realize. So Tony's not only the president and CEO of Transfinder 2 blocks up the road, he is also the founder and president of the NYBizLab.
That's right.
So tell me, why did you start the BizLab? What's the purpose of the BizLab, and why did you start it?
That's great. Well, I think the whole idea is to teach people business. Is to teach them that there's great opportunity and to show them, hey, there's help here. Don't leave, don't leave. It's really about, I don't want to lose more people. So having the BizLab here is to give some young companies opportunity to say, well, maybe we'll learn something from this guy. Maybe he's got, this old guy now. Maybe he's got something to share. And I think, and it made me realize that if we create an environment where we attract some young people, some new companies, some new ideas, maybe that idea doesn't go too far, but we win the battle, they stay here and do something else. It's really what we got to do. So that was the whole idea of BizLab. Can we just keep some more people? Obviously, I want them to stay in Schenectady, but just keep them in this area. We win more than you can imagine. So I'm tired of hearing there's not enough people. Well, they're leaving every May. They leave. They get in their car, mom and dad, they get in a car, and they leave this area. Or they get in a plane, they leave every May. A new batch coming in here in the fall. They really do. So don't tell me that they're not here. There's a lot of people here. And colleges, he's already getting 5 offers. They're not going to say, hey, Tony, why don't you come get some of the kids? Because, 5 offers is not enough. Let's get 10 offers. He doesn't have to anymore. So it's our job to do that.
Very good. Thank you. Back here.
Yeah, you have a seller's market in terms of new labor, so how do you handle your selection process under those circumstances? You finally get to the interview stage. Is there a compromise involved? Is there a different onboarding kind of situation, training? I mean, what's your solution with this set of circumstances that I see?
I think we definitely do. We go through, and by the way, we go through a significant interview process. I've heard some numbers, Rick, maybe you could help me, that the number of interviews, ratios to what we actually hire is worse, if I can say it, than a Harvard applicant.
It's easier to get into Harvard than it is to get into Transfinder.
Yeah, I think
I don't know
last
how
year.
I made it, but
I think last year we could have had over.
Your parents paid a lot of money.
Right, over 1,000. Maybe you got to pay a lot of money. Right, over 1,000 candidates, and I think we ended up hiring about 20 or 25 last year. So it's significant. But yeah, we do. We try everything. Now we're doing a whole new video interviewing. That the first thing if you're a candidate, you have these great questions that people at the company ask you questions about. What do you do? What's your programming skills or sales? And so an employee actually asks a question, it's a video, and then they have 3 tries. Maybe fix your hair a little bit, and it's a video. Those are things that you could do over and over again, and we're just trying things. But yeah, we want to get a smart person is always going to be someone we want. Someone who's dedicated and wants to work hard. We'll always take that person over someone that has tons of experience, but I don't want to work a full week. It's like,
if you're a Siena graduate, you do have a slight edge.
I think so.
There is an edge. in Siena.
So did I answer your question? Good.
So, Tony, you've given a lot back to the community, right? The BizLab is sort of a way of giving back. You do a lot of other really wonderful things. Talk to us about how you think that responsibility lies with businesses, right? At some point, as you were saying, we're losing these students. That's our fault.
It is.
Right? It's not the student's problem.
Nope.
That's our fault because we're letting them go. We're not doing a good job. So how do you think about the responsibility of business, and what can businesses do to sort of help move the ball down the field?
I think it's simple. Call every colleges and university in this area and make sure that there's an opportunity. And I'm not going to the Career Center, because the Career Centers, those are students are thinking, something, I want to get a job someplace in the capital region. So the Career Center is actually, I hope I'm not offending somebody, but the Career Center means I want a job. I make a decision, go into the Career Center at the college and say, what kind of jobs are posting? And that means someone actually wants that. Majority of kids think, I'm not getting a job, I'm going to graduate, and then I'll worry about it. So we need to convince those kids are not looking for jobs. The one looking for jobs, they're going to get a job immediately. How about those significant others that thinking, I'm not staying in this area? But first of all, I traveled to about 10, 15 colleges my mom and dad brought me, and we never said that, hey, pick your college, because wherever you pick, that's where you're going to spend 5 more years. Okay, we went to 15 colleges, and we never discussed with my mom and dad about which one I'm going to actually stay after I graduate. We talked about the culture. Is this the right fit for me? I'm being a little bit sarcastic, right? Is it the right fit? Is all that? No one ever says, well, pick that place because you're going to probably get an awesome job there 5 years later, right? So I think this is where most kids are going to go, I'm going to be gone. That was part of the plan. I picked 1 out of 15 and I'm leaving. So we have to work very hard to convince them. And I think everybody could do it. And if you're a restaurant, you could do that too. Because restaurant, you will gain. If more people are in this area, you'll get more meals served. You name it. Every company will benefit. I'm serious.
I saw a question in the back, over here in the corner.
Mark.
You mentioned half your employees were Shanghai. So
The software engineers. And we have probably about 35% of the company is software engineers.
I'm curious, because so much talk about U.S. and China relations, particularly the trade deals and business, doing business with China. I wonder what you learned about doing business with China and what's ahead on that front, because that's obviously going to be critical in the 21st century.
It definitely makes me a little nervous, for sure. And clearly I don't have all my eggs in one basket, but that's where the talent is. And this is the kind of things that we're taking risk, because what's the alternative, Mark? Alternative, they're going to have a big writing. There's a for lease or for sale building on 440 State Street, and that's the alternative. And I'm not going to do that. So therefore, it is a huge risk, and obviously I have to minimize my risk. But China, when I go there, as being American, we're loved there. They know that we're part of their economy. I never felt uncomfortable. I felt so good. The people are there are extremely smart, and the technology is off the chart. Vending machines, there's no buttons. There's a huge flat screen. I'm using an app, and and a thing comes right out. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, and by the way, everyone has that. And it's just the technology that I see is just off the chart. And we're so behind. And I'm trying to tell people that you have no idea how behind we are in technology. I could go to a regular, corner store to buy things, and they have a vending machine with a massive touch screen, and I could just an app and say I want the Pepsi can. I put no cash, and it just spits right out. And by the way, speaking of cash, when I go to China, I'm the only one who actually is bringing around cash. They look at me like, "What's that?" "Well, it's your money. I got it at the airport." Nobody uses that over here.
Tony, I thought before
So I just want to tell you, I think, it's the politics, but the people love us. They think they all want to become American. They love our culture.
Well, tell us about the name. That was an interesting story.
Well, that's true. So to create a company there, it took about 12 months to create a company. And it's even down to, what's the name of the company? I mean, today, so this is the thing that we have no idea how good we have it. You could go to LegalZoom or one of those products or any of these fine legal...
Or Phillips Lytle.
Right? Phillips
Lytle.
Lytle. And you go there, and maybe you could do it in 30 days, but usually you can get it done in a couple days. You get yourself a company, right? Many companies here. And it took a year to get a company established. A year. They came back with, what's the name for? What does it represent? Like, what do you care about the name? No, it has to mean something. Even the name of the company that's in Shanghai, we had to come up with different names. It had to mean something. So the government then just wants to create, ABC company, and you go slap it together with a pen. No, it has to be, it's that pride. You have to really,
what's our name there? And what's it mean?
It's the meaning over there is actually, it's the virtue of, it's almost like a virtue. So we had to come up with something that has to go with education. It's the virtue of the education passed from a teacher to the student. I mean, right? We had to actually come up with these different ways.
And it kind of sounds like Transfinder.
It does. So it really does.
So it's kind of...
No, it really actually does. But those are things that I personally, I love the food. I love the food. I love the people. But and I felt it's the competitiveness. These are just, again, I was not born here, but if I was here 50 years ago, I bet you we're the same way, are being competitive. And that's what we need to be. Mark.
All right, Tony, I thought before we ended, because we always promise to get you out at 1 o'clock sharp. That's one of our promises. You can always stay as long as you want.
There's some more food, too.
And there is the food that arrived.
Yes.
Please let the people who didn't eat first go. You can hear their stomachs grumbling, so you know they're the ones. I want you to end on a proverb from Papa. So is there something you want to share, that good one here that we can go out on, and then I want some closing remarks.
Well, I think there's, based on what I'm talking about, there actually is one, and it's going to be about the rooster. Because I think this is something, it is about roosters. And by the way, before I tell you the proverb, I have to just in case you don't live in
1 minute.
You don't live on a farm, you have to know what it means, a rooster. So there's roosters, right? They crow. They crow in the morning. They do crow. But once the dominant rooster crows, then all the rest, the smaller ones, actually follow. Okay, so I just want to make sure, just in case you don't live on a farm, that's how it works. So the proverb is really easy. So the proverb goes, when the little rooster crows, the big one has already sung. That means when you hear someone say something, someone else said that already. When you hear an employee make that statement, it means a manager said that, someone in your leadership, someone else said that. If they're a little rooster, well, figure out who that big rooster is, because really that's who made that happen. But in this conversation, I feel like I'm the big rooster. And a lot of you should be big roosters if you're not, because we do set the tone. And a big rooster set the tones and all the little roosters at that point. So I hope that,
that's awesome.
In a real fast way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Give it up for Tony Civitella. So, as a thank you, we'd like to give you a special BizLab Clarkson tumbler.
Wow.
All yours.
Thank you.
I'd like to once again thank Philip Slidell.
Thanks,
For the sponsorship, the meal sponsorship. I want to thank Richard Lynn again from Agora Technologies for videography. Next month is Bela's boss, as he said, Tony Collins. He's going to be in the hot seat for this is the Tale of Two Tonys. So this is part 2 of that. Please leave your name tags on the door on the way out, on the table on the way out, and help yourself to some more lunch. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.